can't stand it. I just need to move. We need to do Mobility Monday. It's 5 minutes early. Before we start what I actually have planned, let's just get on the foam roller and get right on it. It's getting closer to the true off season. So I really want to talk. So grab your foam roller, and I really want to talk about the off season. I really want to talk about what are we trying to accomplish, at least in North America. Like, so if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you're probably just it's spring, you're just getting ramped up. But the rest of us, Europe, North America, Asia, we're kind of just still, we're on schedule. So this is the time of year when we have to take the time to contemplate what the off season is all about. And no matter how old you are, and no matter who you are, and no matter how much success, performance success, and improvement you made in 2023, what will become vastly, vastly important is the amount of time that you allow your body to heal. And you have to let some performance go. You have to get to the point where you might put on a little bit of extra weight. It doesn't necessarily all need to be muscle weight. You need to make sure that you're measuring and getting more sleep. I asked one of my pro athletes yesterday, she wants to get ramped up and she's ready, because we all get so excited about performance. And we all have been, for the most part, most of the athletes that I have the chance to work with, we had a really good year. We really improved and we had some stellar performances. But my first question is, are you getting 8 hours of sleep? And the response was, I'm actually getting 10 hours of sleep. So that's a good and bad answer. I got to tell you, if you're getting 10 hours of sleep, your body needs to rest. So if you're getting 8 and right in that 7.5 to 8.5, and maybe even 9 if you're younger, then that's a good sign. That's super healthy and that's pretty balanced range. But if you're still getting 10 hours of sleep, your body's trying to tell you something. So there are ways that we can kind of dose out rest, but this is the time of year where right now it's early in the off season. That's this rhetoric and this story is going to change a little bit as we keep moving forward, right? But it's early in the off season. So I just want I want to encourage you, rebuild some of those friendships that you've had to say no to because you're in a performance mindset. Don't be afraid to stay up just a little bit later, sleep in a little bit later. This time change is my favorite time change. But anyway, let's get going with Mobility Monday. First thing we're going to do is just do a quick scan of the body. We're going right for the inner thigh and the adductors. So we're going right to the inner thigh, and we're just going to get that knee up at hip height, and just work through the adductors. Remember, the adductors anchor the pelvis. So let's get all the way up next to the pelvis, inner thigh. Good. And then let's hit the other side. We're going quick. You don't need, I often preach about or speak very freely, you can over foam roll. We're just doing a scan here. We're looking at how the body's feeling. There's nothing pinny for me. Everything's a little achy because I had a very active week. Big golf week, but also a lot of running as well. So there you go. Working inner thigh all the way up by the pelvis. Working into that anchor. Okay, good. Let's go right into the upper back. So the foam roller is right below the shoulder blades. Hands behind the head. And we're just extending gently. And a little bit of toggle at the top. Move just a little bit. Extend nicely. A little bit of a toggle at the top. One more. Pop. That felt good. A little bit of a toggle at the top. Okay, we're going right into lats. Lats and adductors are kind of my jam. It's kind of my biggest thing. The lats and the adductors attach down and through the backside of the pelvis and through the pelvic floor, and just allow, if you can get freedom in the pelvis so that your hips decouple, you'll be so happy. It says that SI joint is just gliding, and that all starts very peripheral. You can go right after that SI joint, but if your lats are tight and your adductors are tight, it won't optimize SI joint function. So, you can get your SI joint worked on all you want, but unless you're dealing with the global system of the body and how it functions together, you're not going to get the outcome I think you hope you will. Okay, good. Let's get rid of that foam roller. We may go back to it. Feet outside of hip width. We're just going to go that nice, easy, happy hips. A little bit of body scanning here. So just looking for how much tightness are we getting here. So this hip needs to be able to come across the midline. You can just see that's just toggling the hip across the midline. Stay in that seated 90-90 and move that hip into the midline. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Seated 90-90, left butt cheek is off the ground, right butt cheek is on the ground. Left butt is coming toward, left hip is coming towards the midline. Nice and easy. Very safe position for the body. So it usually will give you some really good motion. Seated 90-90, hip comes across. And then we can go right into that happy hips. Just nice and easy. Nothing forced. Knees are coming across. Nice and easy. Okay, lay on back. Let's set an anchor. Knees together, big toes together, heels are apart. So this is a lower body anchor. Knees together, big toes touching, heels apart. So we've got activation, upregulation of the inner thigh muscles, the adductors. Okay? So just hold the anchor. What we're going to do is pump the toes. So we're going to flex and extend through the feet and keep the knees touching. A little bit of flossing. Then I want you to pull the feet towards the shins so they're strong into dorsiflexion. Okay? Knees together. Nice and easy. It's okay that there's a little bit of space between the low back. And from right here, I want you to put your hands on your rib cage. Hands on the rib cage. We're going to go nose breathing. And I want your rib cage to mobilize. I want your ribs to move. Okay? So right here, hands on the rib cage. Anchor is strong down at the bottom. And we're going to inhale. And exhale. Rib cage is expanding. Ready? Inhale. Exhale. 3 more of those. In nose. Fill the lungs with air. 2 more big breaths. One more big breath. Expand. And exhale. And good. Okay, next one. We're going to keep working the rib cage expansion. We're going to keep mobilizing the rib cage. Okay? From there, let's go into the half kneeling 90-90 position. If you're super uncomfortable in this position, I want you to just stand up. If you can handle this, maybe put an extra pad under your knee. That's okay too. So we foam rolled the adductors and we foam rolled the lats and the upper back. And all we're going to do here is just go left knee up. We're going left knee over toe. And let's go 5 of those. 2. So we're getting nice ankle mobility. 3, a lot more than that going on here, 4, one more, but that's the obvious and the primary, right? It's keeping the heel on the ground. Now, half kneeling 90-90, don't really care if your back foot is flat or if the toe's tucked under, all right? Right knee up, and we're just gonna go knee over toe, just 5. And good. All right, so we're getting a little conversation here between the back hip and the lead ankle. So you're should get a little tension here and definitely motion down in the ankle. All right, from right there, I'm coming at you straight on because we're gonna internally rotate through the hips. So the feet are gonna be just outside of the knees. And from there, we're using the hands as a counterbalance to push the hips back into flexion and then back into extension, all right? So the feet are outside the knees. That puts the hips into internal rotation. That gives space to the SI joint, all right? Arms are the counterbalance. From foundation training, we're just gonna go into very easy hip flexion. 2, arms are the counterbalance. 3, 4, we're just going to do 5 of these, and 5. So hips are back, chest is up, everything's nice and strong, and we're gliding into hip extension and hip flexion. From right there, let's go right knee 2 inches in front of left. So we're a little offset with the knees. Hands are exactly under the shoulders. So the hands are parallel, knees are offset. Pull the chin into the throat. And we're just going to roll forward like we're looking over a cliff, and then back. You get a little bit of tension through the hip on the way back. 2, just going to go 5, 3, 4, and 5. Good. All right, let's offset the other way. If some is good on this, guys, more is not better. So we only want 2 to 3 inches of offset between the knees, all right? Left knee in front of right. That decouples the hips, hopefully, just a little bit. Hands directly under the shoulders. Chin is into throat, so we get a nice neutral upper back and neck. And we're just going to go back and forth 5 times. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's good. That's SI joint gliding. From right there, let's go right back into internal rotation of the hips. So feet outside of the knees. We're going back into 5 kneeling founders. 1, hips to the back. Hands to the front. Let's go ahead and connect right and left side with the fingertips. 3, drop the shoulders. 4, one more. And 5. Good. So we're anchoring into the pelvis. We've got the pelvis decoupled a little bit, and we've got the hips going into that hip hinge. Let's go ahead and take it up to a standing position. And from right here, we're going to set that anchor again. So taking the outsides of the feet, let's parallel the outside of the feet. Very heavy on the foundation training today. Thank you, Doc Goodman. We just want to get to that body into that reset position. Here at the beginning of the off season, happy November, right? Okay, from right there, we've squared up the outsides of the feet. Do not make the error of overdoing it. You do not need to have your heels dramatically outside of toes. They should be just parallel the outside of the feet. That's going to comfortably take the knees to that position of internal rotation. And from right there, give you that side view, we're going to do the same thing that we did from the kneeling position. So because the knees are straight, we're going to have a little more hamstring action on this one, okay? So feet are directly under the shoulders, shoulder width apart, square up the outsides of the feet. We're going to push the hips back into extension, keep the chin strong into the throat, and come right back. Push the hips back. 2, you can start seeking out high hamstring. 3, keep the toes on the ground. 4, and 5. So with the lats tugging through that thoracolumbar fascia, you should be getting high hamstring. You don't need to get a big stretch, but you should feel it. I actually feel a little more in my glutes, which I'm going to take as a good sign. All right, let's go 5 more of those from right here. Square off the bottom part of your feet, outsides, push the hips back. Head is in a nice strong position. 2, 3, 4, one more. Stay there. 5, fingertips together, nice and strong. Toes are on the ground. Take a big inhale, elevate the hands. And come right back out of that. So that starts to light up my low back just a little bit. Nothing I'm afraid of, but I start to feel it. And that means there's just some tightness in through that fascia that just protects the lumbar spine. Nothing I'm worried about, just a little bit of tension. Take note of it, right? Okay, next one. Let's go ahead and keep the feet right about shoulder width. Push the hips back about 2 or 3 inches so you have a slight hip hinge, all right? Ever so slightly. The booty's out. I've got a little bit of a lordotic curve. If you have one too, don't worry about it. It's fine. You shouldn't feel a big tug on the hamstrings here. So just a little bit of 2 to 3 inches back. From right there, we're going hands on the rib cage. All right? So the knees are in just a little bit. Don't force them in. From right here, we're going to expand the rib cage. This time we're going to add a little bit of intensity to the diaphragm. And we're going to work those muscles of respiration. We're going 5 big breaths. Inhale, fill the lungs with air. Expand the rib cage, and then exhale with the mouth. Relatively forcefully, but I still need it to last about 4 seconds. So we're going nose-mouth breathing, 4-4 breathing. Inhale and expand the rib cage. I want your hands on your rib cage. Okay? You can look, hopefully your family's not going, what the hell are you doing now? Okay? So in through the nose for 4. Out for 4. In for 4. Out for 4. In for 4. Breathe into your back, guys. Make space in the back. One more. Big inhale. Expand. Fill the lungs with air. Drop those lungs. Breathe to the bottom of the lung. And shake that out. All right, good. Let's go into a split stance. Right leg in front of left. Take the back heel and make sure that it's ever so slightly outside of the foot. So as you go into this split stance, typically you're going to be a little tight in external rotation. So let's take it into internal rotation just a little bit so that back heel is at minimum is neutral, and really good if you can square up the outside of that foot. Okay? From right there, we're going to work the hip hinge. So that means we're pushing the hip back and bringing the hip forward. I almost never say take a bow. That would be a bad cue on my part. So if I was telling you to take a bow, you might skip this push the hip back. All right? So right there, we're just going to use the hands as a counterbalance. We're in a nice split stance. We've got 70% of the weight on that lead knee, standing really tall so that everything's flat on the front side of the body. First thing we're going to do, as we inhale, exhale, and exhale as you come out of the hip hinge. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Exhale. Easy, right? Okay, let's hit the other side. Set up the back foot, heel outside toe. 70% of the weight is on the lead leg. Hands can be on the rib cage as you inhale, you're hip hinging. Ready? Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Pull the ribs off the hips. Elevate, decompress. One more. Good. All right, let's go into a wide stance. We've been working into spinal flexion and extension. We're going to do that again. This time, we're going to start from a wide stance. We've been doing a narrow stance. So let me give you a side view really quick. Wide stance, 2 times shoulder width. We're going to drop the shoulders, drop the chin. And from right there, we're just rolling forward so that the backs of the hands get to the ground. And then we articulate the spine back up. All right? Is it a hip hinge? Absolutely. Is it spinal flexion and relaxing into that posture? Yes. Okay? Tuck the chin, drop the head, drop the shoulders, push the hips back, all the way forward, all the way back up. Drop the chin, round the shoulders. 2. Good. You might get a little bit of hamstring here. Tuck the chin. 3. Drop the head. Don't forget, you can use the weight of the head to really let that spine go into flexion. Drop the head. Drop the shoulders. And come back up. All right, now let's put some tension into that. We're still doing mobility, but we're actively controlling the spine in a position of performance. All right, so we've got a wide stance. We're going to pull the ribs off the hips, and we're using the hands as a counterbalance. Nice flat back. Chin is strong. Don't drop your head. Eyes are looking down the road. Come right back out of that. Push your hips back so you get a good hip hinge. 2. Everybody in my premium group right now, we are in a 9-week strength building period. You have got to be able to hip hinge, to be able to get under big load and build strength in the lower body. This is how we get you to hip hinge. Knowing the difference between extension and neutral spine and flexion and a relaxed spine. Both are important, right? But right there, we need the ribs to be able to pull off the hips. We need tensegrity and lift in the core through the abdomen. We don't need you to have a core that can hold a plank for 5 minutes. I really could give it a crap about that, to be honest. We need this. Hip hinge, hip hinge, hip hinge, lift weights, right? That's what mobility is about. It's being able to relax and have flow so that in performance you can have flow, and then being able to get under load so you can put tension in a safe way into the skeleton, into the fascial system, and definitely into the muscles. All right, from right there, let's just go into some nice lateral gliding. We're going to push the hips back. We're going to take that left hip across to the midline. We're going to load right, left hip across, and come back. Load left, right hip across. Push your hips back. There's a hip hinge here. Push the hips back, let the shoulder and the hip come across. Good. Oh, falling backwards. Good. Good. And I'm getting action through my ankles. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm getting popping and cracking. And I'm not a normal popper and cracker. So I know that if I'm getting tendons kind of wrapping and popping over other tendons and fascia just moving, then I know I'm kind of getting what I want out of my mobility session this morning. And good. All right, you guys, bottom line, if you want to move well, if you want to build strength in the off season, you can't do it at the expense of motion, of movement. You need to maintain, keep movement quality high. There's over 120 sessions here in these playlists that I've created for you over the last 2.5 years. Please, you can do them Monday through Friday They're very gentle sessions. Thank you for showing up this Monday. I will see you next Monday. Peace and aloha.